honest, no, I don't. Taylor, don't worry about it then.
The thing about this, like, because, you know, because I know you're itching to shoot somebody, but you can get away a lot easier just shooting with a taser.
You could say, don't tase me, bro. And if they said, why would you say that? And you'd say, well, you're not going to shoot me, are you?
That's a great one. That's a perfect one, dude.
Oh.
These cops one time, and I'm like, you guys are the ones with the guns. Why wouldn't I be nervous?
Christians like concentrating on the verses in the Bible that
as many, if not more,
motivates them and other people to violence. In other words, they like to talk about killing people that aren't like them,
the religion that
killing people that are not Christian, killing people that are the opposite of Christians.
ISIS.
But if you want to talk about aborting people, then you have to do it from 20,000 feet in the sky. Now, you kill people,
verses that fits
but if you're going to abort people, then you got to do it from 20,000 feet in the sky.
the world is not
20,000 feet in the sky
that these fringes
is the proper height from which you can abort somebody,
And
it not be
this in
killing or murder.
56.
Now, if you abort somebody at ground level,
say in the year
or now in the horizontal position at ground level, you can do that too, but it's got to take around 2 hours to 2 hours and 45 minutes, or 45 minutes, or 2 hours and 45 minutes, or 3 hours,
meaning you
or it can be put off for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks, or 14 days, or 6 months. But one thing is for sure, you can't know how it's actually performed. Nobody can see it. Nobody can know what it is that actually causes it.
they completely ignore.
And if you want to do it that way, you can. And that's called state-approved late-term abortion at ground level in the horizontal position.
Talk about
And then, of course, then there's regular abortion,
ISIS as being good,
and that's done
and I
with
don't-
forceps and so on and so forth.
I don't view them as
Now, if you want to do abortions from 20,000 feet in the sky, you got to make sure that you have the right hardware, and that's got to mean that you got to have something that can get you up to 20,000 feet in the sky. Then you got to have something that you can drop down from 20,000 feet in the sky. Otherwise, how are you going to have an abortion from 20,000 feet in the sky unless you've got an abortion that you can actually drop down, put down, push down on others from 20,000 feet in the sky?
be a
And that's the reason why Christians love
servant of the
reading holy books, or rather a holy book, the Bible. They love focusing on verses in the Bible that talk about killing, violence, destruction, destroying the enemy. Hey, by the way, now, did you know that Jesus was the greatest mass killer in the history of everything? Yeah, Jesus is the greatest mass killer in the history of everything. Did you know that when Jesus comes back, he's going to kill everybody that's not like me?
and a lot of
Not like you, if you're a Christian. And if you're not like me, Jesus is going to kill you. Did you know that?
know that their own
And did you know that as a Jesus, that is a follower of Jesus, as a Christian, that I'm a believer in fairy tales such as this?
one you
When Jesus comes back, he's coming back to kill everybody that's not like me.
the evil you
And that makes me different from a Muslim, which is fine and good if I'm a Christian. And if I'm not a Christian, then, well, then I can go to hell.
No,
If I'm a Christian telling myself that.
as a Catholic,
If I'm a Christian telling you that, and you're a person that's not a Christian, then you can go to hell.
and that's mostly message. But I think it's important to point out
There is evidence for God.
Come on, DJ.
Come on, DJ. Come on, DJ. Come on. Come on. Hit that button. Hit the button. Play. All right, everybody. Mr. Random. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
It's good to see Courtney. It's Courtney C.A. Claw. I don't know how to pronounce it. Either way. So, it's good to be here tonight. And, yes, so tonight I'm going to dedicate whatever I'm performing tonight to the memory of Robin Williams. And Robin Williams was a very funny person, and he did suffer from mental illness. And mental illness is a very serious issue. So I'd like to start my set out tonight by just saying, first of all, that mental illness is a very serious issue, and that's not a joke. And people that kill themselves, they're mentally ill. And so it's not a joke. People shouldn't joke about people that kill themselves, because nobody that kills themselves, takes their own life, does it when they're healthy. The only people that take their own life on purpose are people that are mentally ill, right? I'm mentally ill. They know I am mentally ill. I take medication daily. I see doctors and treatment care and resource care providers regularly. And I'm getting healthy, and I am healthy, and I'm not cured, and I don't ever expect to be cured. But it doesn't matter. I'm still healthy, even though I'm mentally ill, okay? Let's just get that straight right now, all right? So if you're make sure that you surround yourself and that you're accountable to people that support the course of treatment that make sure that you're staying healthy, even though you're mentally ill. So, but mental illness is a very important issue. Now, speaking of mental illness, did you know that society is a set of rules and that people are mentally ill because society says that they're mentally ill? Did you know that? And that if it wasn't for the rules in society, that nobody would be mentally ill. Did you know that? That the only reason that people are actually mentally ill is because society says that they're mentally ill. Because if it wasn't for the rules of society, there would be nobody that's mentally ill. The reason why people are mentally ill is because they meet the definition requirements for the opposite of what society says is mentally ill. Right? So society says that the opposite of mental illness is that you go to the bank and you stand in line and then you put your money in the bank or you take your money out of the bank. Right? Or society says that the opposite of mentally ill is that you go and you stand on a sidewalk or you sit inside of a 4,000-pound piece of steel that has rubber tires on it, right? It's burning fuel, it's putting poison into the air, and you're breathing poison and toxins and all kinds of chemicals that are destroying your body and destroying the environment, and then you sit in front of a machine, you sit in a machine, and you sit in front of a machine, and you wait for that machine to tell you what to do, right? It's called an ATM. You ever done that? You ever sit inside of a car and wait for the ATM to tell you what to do? Right? And society says that that is the opposite of not mentally ill, right? Society says that if you do that, then you're fine, right? There's nothing wrong with you. You get in your 4,000-pound car, right? You drive 2 miles or 2 blocks or whatever. You go to the bank, right? You sit in front of the machine and you wait for the machine to tell you what to do, right? And you ever notice that how often in society, society will tell you that in order to be not mentally ill, that you need to stand in front of something and that you need to wait for that thing to tell you what to do. And then when that thing tells you what to do, then you need to do what that thing tells you what to do so that you can get what that thing told you that you would get if you do the thing that told you what to do told you what to do, right? But you got to do it fast enough and you got to do it the right way, right? So you put your card in and you got to take your card out fast, right? And if you didn't do it the right way, then you got to do it again. And society says you're fine. You're not mentally ill, okay? But now, you guys know what society is, don't you? You guys know what society is? Society is a set of rules. Society is actually a set of rules, right? You're either this thing or you're that thing. You're either one thing or another. You're either this thing or you're not that thing. You're either this thing or you're that thing and you're not that thing, or you're not this thing and or you're that thing, right? You're either an Angels fan or a Dodgers fan, Clippers or Lakers, Republican or Democrat, right? You're for drone strikes or food stamps, right? So if you're for drone strikes, usually that means you're for killing people. If you're for food stamps, usually that means you're for feeding people, generally speaking. Now, have you ever noticed, speaking of people that are mentally ill, I'm a Christian. Do you guys know what a Christian is? Do you know what a Christian is? Do you know how to spell Christian? C-H-R-I-S-T-I-A-N. Christian, right? And at the end, a capital C. Christian. You know what a Christian is, don't you? A Christian's a mentally ill person. Right? You know why a Christian's a mentally ill person? Because they follow a mentally ill person. Did you know that? Christians follow a person that was mentally ill by society standards, right? Did you know that Jesus, according to society, was mentally ill? Right. Because Jesus, not only did Jesus take his own life, lay down his own life, remember, Jesus said, nobody takes my life, I lay it down. In other words, Jesus committed suicide so that you could live, so that I could live, right? And so the people in Marietta could tell people to go back to where they came from. That's the reason that Jesus died, really, so that Christians could go to Marietta and tell people to go back to where they came from, right? And so we all know why Jesus died, so let's just move on. Jesus died so that we could have a border and the people could go back to where they came from, right? Jesus died, he came here so I could have eternal life, and that you and you and you could go back to where you came from, right? That's the point of being a Christian. No, that's satire, actually. That's not the point of being a Christian, right? I'm joking. This is a comedy act. You guys know that this is a comedy act and we're talking about society, and society is a set of rules. You're either this thing or that thing or this thing. Now, you have to realize that when you're in society and you're not following the rules, that everybody's got a job to do, right? Now, if you follow the rules, you're fine. But if you don't follow the rules, then society's got another job for you. And that means you either go away or your job is to then say, don't tase me, bro. Right? Your job in society, if you don't follow the rules, is to say, don't tase me, bro. Right? You remember don't tase me, bro, don't you? You remember a couple of years ago, UCLA, they had it on video. You can actually go on YouTube. You can go on the internet. You guys know what the internet is, right? Yeah. The internet is a thing that you look at that tells you what to do. It's another one of those things that tells you what to do, right? You get on the only tells certain people to do certain things. And in order to be a homeowner, then if you're a homeowner, the internet will tell you certain things, right? And if you're not a homeowner, then don't worry about it. It's just like if you believe the gospel, that's great. But if not, don't worry about it. It doesn't apply to you. It's all make-believe. Right? Did you guys know that the gospel's make-believe because it only works if you believe it? Did you know that? It's make-believe. Yeah. And did you know what else? Society's a set of rules. And when you go to the supermarket, that's a microcosm of society. Right? Did you know that society can be summed up in one word? Right? That's the supermarket. So when you go to the supermarket, what happens is there's a set of rules you got to follow that so closely resemble society that you can actually leave the supermarket and know every single thing that you got to know to get by in society, to follow society, and that you'll never have to say, "Don't tase me, bro." Right? Right? Hey, how you doing? My name's Randy. It's going pretty good. Listen, hey, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Great, that's great. All right. Super. Yeah. As a Christian, it's my job to find out who it is that I can associate with and who that I don't have to associate with, right? So as a Christian, I need to know who else in here that I don't need to tell to go back to where they came from, right? So if you're a Christian, you're fine. But if you're not a Christian, then you need to go back to where you came from, right? Because that's the rules of society, is that if you're a Christian, then your job is to just go to Marietta and tell people to go back to where they came from. Because that's the main job of a Christian, is to tell people that Jesus died for them and now to go back to where he came from. That's the job of a Christian. But when you go to the supermarket, there's certain rules that you have to follow, and one of those rules is that you have to walk where you're told to walk. Okay? So when you go to the supermarket, the first thing you have to do is you got to make sure that if you want cereal, you go down the cereal aisle. Right? If you want dog food, you go down the dog food aisle. If you need toothpaste, you go down the toothpaste aisle. And also, if you need toothpaste, there's only 5 brands you can choose from. And if you want anything other than the 5 brands, or the 6 brands, or the 7 brands, or the 1 brand that they got to choose from, then your job is to be quiet, or then your next job is going to be, "Don't taste me, bro." Right? Because society has a few options for you, and those options are either do what you're told, right? And you do it the way society says to do it, or guess what? Your next job is, "Don't tase me, bro." Right? So, of course, none of us want to say, "Don't tase me, bro." Now, we all know about shopping at the supermarket, right? One of the things I love about shopping at the supermarket, and this is the way God designed me, this is the way nature designed me through the process of evolution, right? I was designed this way by nature through evolution, right? And that is to be on top of the food chain. It's natural human instinct to want to be on top of the food chain. This is how nature designed us to be on top of the food chain, to preserve the species of the human race. This is how God made it. This is how nature designed it. This is how evolution caused my existence to come into being, right? Do I look like a preacher? Like a preacher hunch? Hey, do me a favor, somebody take a picture of me tonight, because I'm trying to post some pictures on the internet, right? You guys know that pictures are very important. It can prove I was here, right? Number 1. Right? Like if we had pictures of Jesus, we wouldn't have all these people fighting over Jesus. Hey, speaking of pictures of Jesus, have you ever noticed how much Jesus is like Obama? Have you ever noticed how Obama's like Jesus? Right? It's crazy how much they're like. Have you ever noticed that? Obama is a lot like Jesus. Obama's so much like Jesus, sometimes I have a hard time telling them apart. Right? Have you ever noticed, for instance, how often Obama will get in front of a camera and he's there with kids? You ever notice that? Ever notice how often Obama's having his picture taken with kids? Right? Just like Jesus. You ever notice how often Jesus was having his picture taken with kids? Yeah, I have. Didn't know they had cameras back in those days, did you? You guys know who Jesus is, don't you? Yeah. You've been to the movies? You know about Jesus, right? If you've been to the movies, then you know that Jesus was an actor, right? It was just his job to act. It was the job of Jesus to perform the role so that, right, you could do whatever it is that you got to do after Jesus performed his role, right? And if you're a Christian, your job is to act like Christ, right? If you're a Christian, your job is to act like Christ, right? But if you're one of those Christians, then your job is to go on Fox News and to tell people to go back to where they came from. If you're one of those Christians. If you're a Christian, your job is to act like Jesus. If you're one of those Christians, it's your job to tell people to go back to where they came from, right? So when you go to the supermarket, one of the rules you have to follow is make sure that you don't have too many items in order to get out of the store. Right? Now we're almost done. I'm going to take 2 more minutes. And then one of the things you have to do is when you go to check out at the supermarket, you got to make sure that if you have 16 items or more, 16 items or more than 16 items, or more than 15 items, that you got to go to the checkout line that's marked and designated for any section other than 15 items or less. Right? Because if you get into a line and you have 15 items or more, or 16 16 items or more when you should have 15 items or less, then your next job is probably going to be don't tase me, bro, right? And society has another job for you, and that's either go away, or your job is then to say don't tase me, bro, right? So nobody wants to end up on the internet with a video and then having them say don't tase me, bro, right? So the main thing you got to know about going to the supermarket is make sure before you check out you have the right amount of items, right? The next thing you got to know is, and this is very important too, and that is society says that if you need to eat, right, one of the rules of society is that you need to eat, right? And did you know that one of the rules of society is not only do you have to eat, but you have to buy that food you're going to eat. And if you can't afford to buy food, then you're going to starve, right? Which is why we have food stamps, yes? And you guys know what food stamps are, don't you? Food stamps is feeding people, right? Remember, drone strikes, you're killing people. And you're either for, remember, society says you're either this thing or that thing or this thing or not that thing or this thing or not this thing, right? You're either one thing or another thing or this. You're either for drone strikes, you're either for killing people, or you're for food stamps, you're for feeding people, right? So if you want to know what you should be for and what you shouldn't be for, right? So if you're a Christian, you're for food stamps and you're against drone strikes. If you're one of those Christians, then you're for drone strikes and you're against food stamps, right? If you're one of those Christians, you're for killing people. And if you're one of those people that's a Christian, then you're for feeding people, right? Right? I think that's how it works. I think that's how it works, right? If you're a Christian, you're for feeding people. But if you're one of those Christians, you're for killing people. I think. Just check, right? But society's actually a set of rules, and when you get right down to it, what that means is that you have a job to do, I have a job to do, and all of us together have a job to do, and that means we have to hold society together, right? And that means if any one of us breaks the rules, we're all responsible for each other. That means when you go to the supermarket, you got to talk a certain way, you got to act a certain way. That makes sure that everybody around you feels like they're on top of the food chain too, right? So when you go into the supermarket, you don't make somebody else feel like they're uncomfortable. That's why if you go to the supermarket and you're going to use food stamps, make sure that you do it on your own time. Make sure you do it either before people get there or after people get there, because nobody wants to be made to feel like they're having a bad day because they feel like that you're on top of the food chain because they're buying your food with food stamp money that could be used to kill all kinds of people all over the world because I'm one of those Christians. Amen. Thank you very much. And this set, again, we're dedicated to the memory of Robin Williams. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Randall.
Give it up one more time for Mr. Randy! Oh, damn, we have Mr. Paul Douglas in the house! We also have Mr. Mad Mikey showing up. Finally, Mr. Buster over here. What's up, guys? So, does anyone have kids? Anyone have kids here? Your kids? Your kids? Your kids? So I was in a situation. I need your help, okay? So,
On the ground remix. Take 7. Boots on the ground. 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 Boots on the ground.
Pay attention to this, according to that. He that leadeth another into captivity, or he that leadeth into captivity will be led into captivity. And they that kill with the sword, or he that killeth with the sword, will be killed by the sword. And that's just something to keep in mind, or in other words, to pay attention to, according to that.
You know, I really believe, you don't know until you test it, but I think I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon.
Trump advisor. Hashtag Trump advisor.
trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call again later. Goodbye.
The preface section, S of this book. Stamps. 3B, 3B, 2B. Hashtag Tcir on foot stamps. In other words, Christians are here to help, and how can they help unless you ask them for help? For instance, how are we ever going to get this thing with who or what will use which or what bathroom where and what they need to wear to give them permission to enter? Christian love betting things. The bathroom issue is really a tough one though. This is serious. 1. How can Christians do their job if they do not know which bathroom to use? Christians are waiting to be told or they are waiting to tell. That is the main job of Christians. All this is 1. According to 1B, our friends. 1B2, hashtag that Christian internet. Just go to where the Christians internet. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of New Christian Jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Means and you will see the definition of Christian or Christians or Christian things or what it means to be a Christian and or what a Christian is or what the definition of not all but most Christians in general for is and what a Christian does or and or how a Christian acts or how Christians are supposed to act loud a clear. After you have asked the Christians internet your questions. 1. Now. 1B. Listen. And 1B2. Do what you are told. 1B2B. The other main job of Christians. Recall this is a Christian book designed to fit IT, but not be of. Do you see what I mean? That was a joke. Lol. And what a joke is IT? I am still chuckling to myself. Yes, I am not rolling on the floor laughing, but I am still chuckling. 4. Based on hashtag that Christian internet. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of New Christian Jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Christians. Did you know Christians are the gospel to things that are not Christians? That is why and how Christians make society Christian. They do IT by acting like Christians. In other words, what is the gospel doing? Most things that are for sale have no meaning to most people that do not want to buy those things already. If you want a person to buy something that they know nothing about, you have to turn that thing you are selling into them. Everything in society is society because society is made up all the things in society including people. The things in society that make society real are people and other things. Some things are people and some things are not people, they are just things. 1. Like machines. Machines are things and computers are things. That makes computers the same as machines. So when this book is talking about a computer, sometimes IT will say machines. But what IT? Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of New Christian Jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Means computers. This book does a lot repeating. The writer of this book has a disability that the writer of this book repeat things over and over and over again. Some people call this a good thing and other people call this thing a bad thing. How many definitions of a thing can you have? How many do you need? What is the definition of a thing? What does a definition mean? What are the meanings of definitions? Are definitions real? How are definitions real? What does a definition do? Everything in society does something to either support society or to enforce the rules of society. This includes Christians if they are in society. And we all know that Christians are some of the best society members. Christians are the reason mostly that we have a society at all. Can you imagine what this world would look like if IT had not been for Christians exploring and setting up buildings all over the globe? There might be no such thing as. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of New Christian Jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. In what order? Based on this you are now keep in mind.
to change the Bible while I am writing the Bible? Or while I am writing a different version of the Bible? You tell me. What did I just write? Read it out loud. This book is now using you to tell you something. Just like a made by George Lucas movie will get you to retell that same movie in at least 10 different ways or using different versions of that same thing. That same movie sold in all different versions and for every age of person or group or thing. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of new Christian jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of new Christian jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Let me put that joke another way. 1. When the writer of these letters telling me the writer of this book how I should write my books writes these letters, that writer is reading in her or in his head the thing and things they are writing as they are writing those things. 1b. And now I have to reread that same letter. How many times is this letter going to have to be read? Why not just make that letter or those letters a book and then you will have another version of this book? In other words, since I am not going to read your letters in the first place and since this book is already done, why not join forces with this book and let's remake episode 7 together. Together we will rule the movies as writer and reader. See how that last joke was suddenly out of nowhere turned into a George Lucas joke. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of new Christian jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Just by adding the name of Lucas. This is like how you can turn anything into a Christian by adding the name Christian. The presence of the Force. Think about it. George Lucas invented the Force. Lucas movies have the Force. Let me explain that like this. 1. No Lucas, no the Force. 2. No Lucas, no the Force. Lucas is the real thing. Everything else is fake. Christian movies. Together we will rule the movies as writer and reader. See how that last joke was suddenly out of nowhere turned into a George Lucas joke. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of new Christian jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Just by adding the name of Lucas. This is like how you can turn anything into a Christian by adding the name Christian. In the name of Lucas, that joke became a real joke. The presence of Lucas means the presence of the Force. Think about it. George Lucas invented the Force. Lucas movies have the Force. Let me explain that like this. 1. No Lucas, no the Force. 2. No Lucas, no the Force. Lucas is the real thing. Everything else is fake. Christian movies. George Lucas made the movies being real a real thing. Lucas made the movies real. History now proves that the movies now prove the movies are real. Yes, it is true. George Lucas made the human centipede real. The human centipede is real because of George Lucas. And the movies prove this. Another way of saying that is this is a Christian book of new Christian jokes book that's also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. Also a Christian calendar book. The Book of the Sword. Volume 2.1. The preface section, S of this book. And this book is based on the movies. The Christian movies. You know what I mean. You know what I mean when I say the Christians movies. Right. Okay, think about it. The movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. First you have the movies. Then you have the Christians who go to the movies. In other words, you have Christian moviegoers. When Christians go to the movies, that is when those movies that Christian are going to become Christian movies. See how that works.
Is made up of characters. A dictionary is a thing made up of characters. a dictionary can tell you what things or characters make up other things, and where or what the things the characters make up are based or are based on, or where did those characters come from. In other words, what is the history or original affiliation of that thing or of those things, or the character of any of that is based on, or the characters of any of that are based on. That is the Christian internet in a nutshell.
Industry and its congressional allies
Abortion.
will undoing, at least temporarily, the new rules.
ABORTION. Abortion.
Driver fatigue is a leading
Abortion clinic.
which killed more than 3,500
CLINIC. Clinic. Abortion clinic.
that staff.
ABORTION, and then a space, and then the letters CLINIC. Clinic. Abortion clinic.
On Maine's Turnpike.
Drivers will be allowed
Abortion clinic
2 hours a week.
operates near preschool facility. Preschool facility.
Drivers don't stay over.
PRESCHOOL,
Provision in the spending bill also
and then a space, and then the letters FACILITY. Facility.
both sides expect
Abortion clinic operates next to preschool facility.
there's a Harvard man on the wrong side of every question. And this week,
ABORTION, and then a space,
Professor Handel,
and then the letters
PhD in the
CLINIC,
for pursuing companies he believes
and then a space,
fraud. Professor Handel
and then the letters
from Tcir
OPERATES,
promised to furnish
and then a space,
cabbage with
and then the letters NEAR,
sounds like the sheriff of the internet.
and then a space, and then the letter,
Business for which Bloomberg
singular letter,
supplying.
lowercase a,
The food costs $4 more than calculated because prices
and then the letters,
not been updated. The professor complained in an email. Brand
followed by a space, and then the letters PRESCHOOL. Abortion clinic operates near a preschool.
The tripling reflects the approach provided under the Massachusetts Consumer Protection Statute MGL 93A. Minimum wage pay equity.
Everybody's got a job to do in society. Some people are plumbers, some people are auto mechanics, some people cut hair, some people kill people.
Requiring 6 people.
Everything that has to be done in society has to be done by somebody. People aren't just going to abort themselves.
I think that's exactly what he wants to do with the.
You also have to have
We have.
doctors. You have to have
Senator, you have
people that
nailed it today.
write the news, report it.
Again this week.
Some people have to
Everything you do.
deliver the paper.
I'm so pleased.
Somebody has to blog. You have to have bloggers. BLOGGERS, bloggers. But everybody's got a job to do in society, and not everybody does every job the same. For instance, not everybody wants to be a plumber, and not everybody wants to kill people.
27th of the Savans.
Not everybody wants to kill people, and not everybody wants to fix a car. Not everybody wants to stand up in front of a crowd of people and preach the gospel, and not everybody wants to walk down the street and sell their body for money so that they can live, feed themselves, and feed their kids. That's the same reason a lot of people kill people, is so that they can feed themselves and feed their kids.
Jordi Savall and Le Concert National.
Some people kill people
Go to
so that they can
Sound of Pictures from 7 until 10.
eat. Some people kill people because they enjoy killing people.
So we have all
sorts of wondrous...
You have to have people that it's their job to be in jail, and you have to have other people it's their job to put people in jail.
And I got one last
You have to have some people it's their job to
What a pleasure. Al Michaels
say,
can't make this.
don't tase me, bro.
From NPR News.
And then you have to have some people its job is to say, would you like help out to your car with that?
9 KVCR, San Bernardino River.
And then you again have to have some people it's not only their job to kill, but it's their job, some people it's their job to
Community College.
put together a flyer that says 15 to 50 to 75% off, honoring those who kill.
Ontario. There's a 2-vehicle crash and some CHP units on the scene on the northbound 15 at the 10.
And then some people have to
It's actually a little more crowded and slow.
mow yards, and some people have to
Through Norco.
come across the border illegally, and some people have to build border fences.
Because of gusty winds coming down
Some people have to say, go back to where you came from,
there. In Riverside, 2 vehicles are
and then some people have to
northbound 215 at Central.
come back
And in Corona, we
from where they came from.
Westbound 91 from McKinley into Orange County. And
One of the rules of society is that, actually the first rule of society is that society is a set of rules. And that's the first rule of society. And then every other rule, because society is a set of rules, every other rule, because society is a set of rules, so every other rule that is not the first rule is going to be the second rule, or the third, or the fourth, but it will just be one of the rules of society, because society is a set of rules. And one of the rules of society is that, of course, the second rule of society could be the second. It's one of the other rules of society. It's not the first rule, but one of the other rules of society is that not only is society a set of rules, but society is a set of rules that are designed to make a certain person or group of people feel good. And so society is a set of rules, and one of the rules of society is that the rules of society are designed to make a person or a group of persons, a certain group of people, feel good. And so that's one of the rules of society. And now, one of the other rules of society is that when some people don't feel good, because, remember, one of the rules of society is that the rules of society are designed so that as to make a person or a group of persons or a group of people feel good. And sometimes in society, and one of the rules of society is that sometimes in society, the rules of society make some people feel not good. They make some people feel good, and then they make some people feel not good. It's like the opposite of good. And so there's a lot of rules in society, because society is a set of rules. And one of the rules of society is that you got to have a rule for every situation. I'm committed as a Christian to opposing everything that doesn't line up with my interpretation of the Bible. As a Christian, I am committed to making sure that certain people don't have the same rights and benefits, protections as I do under the law. Civil law, secular law. As a Christian, I'm committed to
Capital C-H-R-I-S-T-I-A-N. Capital C at the beginning and a lowercase n at the end. Christian. I am committed as a Christian to making sure that certain people can't drink a coffee or eat their muffin in my place of business.
I think it's too early to me.
And that's my commitment as a Christian.
Politician, any party.
Also, as a Christian, I'm committed to turning my back on the poor and denying that any form of injustice matters. I'm committed to this as a Christian.
Get trained, get a job, and not be dependent, for generations. We are reforming our K-12 education system dramatically. We've got a lot of programs to involve people in their communities.
One of the reasons why it's my job, or at least one of my jobs, sometimes my most important job, to go to the movies. And that's because my first job is to support the economy. And it's the economy that is going to support me. And if I don't support the economy first, then I have no chance of being supported by the economy. And that's one of the reasons why I go to the movies. But people don't generally mind standing in line for something that they think is going to make them feel good, or that they believe is going to make them feel good. And also, or that they hope is going to make them feel good. And also, people generally speaking, do not mind being told what to do when the same rules as before apply. Or they either think, or they believe, or they hope that whatever it is that they're being directed at or towards is going to make them feel good in a way that's where they don't mind having somebody else tell them what to do. In essence, controlling their life. So that's why people don't mind going to the bank or buying things, standing in line to buy things, or standing in line to put gas in their car, or going to Disneyland. Anytime a person stands in line, they're making a decision that says, what I am getting is in the cost to benefit ratio greater than the cost. And so I'm going to stand in line, and I'm going to have other people tell me what to do. And that's another reason why I go to the movies, is because I actually don't mind people telling me what to do, as long as I think that what I'm going to get as a result is going to make me feel good. And so that's why I pick my movies very carefully, and I don't always just go to the movies just because I want to go to the movies. I go to the movies based on what I think is going to make me feel good, and what I think is going to be worth going through the process of having somebody else control my life for however long I'm there. Maybe 3 hours. And so yeah, sometimes the movies are worth giving up 3 hours of my life to somebody else.
watching the police. You have, on the one hand, the citizen. And the citizen is not the police. And then on the other hand, you have the police. And this is not the citizen. It's the job of the citizen to do what the police say, and it's the job of the police to do what the citizen says. But who watches the police and who watches the citizen? You have to have someone that's watching the citizen, and you have to have someone that's watching the police. Somebody's got to watch the police, and somebody's got to watch the citizen. Now, it's the job of the police to watch the citizen. But whose job is it to watch the police? Well, it's the job of the citizen to watch the police. But it's the job of the police to watch the citizen based on what the citizen says that it's the job of the police to do. To the degree that the citizen says to the police that they want to be watched, that's the degree to which the police, it's their job of the police to watch the citizen. And it's the job of the citizen to watch the police to the degree that the citizen says that it's their job to that degree to watch the police. And right now it seems that it's the job of the police to kill the citizen to the degree that to which that the citizen says it's okay for the police to kill the citizen, and that it's the job of the citizen to oversee the job of the police, or rather it is the job of the citizen to oversee the police and their job of killing the citizen to the degree that they're willing, the citizen that is willing to get involved with the process of overseeing the police. Citizens can't just go around carrying guns and shooting police or killing police. And so that's why it's the job of the citizen to oversee the police. And if the police are killing the citizen, then it's the job of the citizen to find out why the police are killing the citizen. And then it's also the job of the police to cooperate with by submitting themselves to the process of the citizen oversight of the police. But if the citizen doesn't get involved without guns, then the citizen needs to get involved with the law. And the law has to do with the police, because it's the job of the police, allegedly, to oversee the citizen according to the law. And also that means that it's the job of the police to kill the citizen according to the law. But it's the job of the citizen to make the law and oversee the law that oversees the police oversight of and killing of the citizen. And if there is no law that gives the power of the citizen oversight over the police, well, then the police just go on killing the citizen with no oversight. And the citizen remains under the oversight of the police, but the police, well, they operate with no oversight by the citizen because there's just simply no law. Regardless of the law, sometimes it seems the citizen has no oversight
oversight over the police. And regardless of the law, it seems that the police is not being overseen by the citizen and does not submit to the oversight of the citizen. So, something has to be done about this. Somebody has to determine whose job it is to oversee who and whose job it is to kill whom. Allegedly.
From using 7 words or phrases relating to abortion, sexuality, and science in official documents. The Washington Post broke the news on Friday, citing an anonymous whistleblower who says policy analysts at the Centers for Disease Control were told of the banned words at a meeting last week. The words are fetus, entitlement, vulnerable, diversity, transgender, evidence-based, and science-based.
Testing. 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 Reason why not? The news tells us who's a bad guy and who's the good guy. And then it's the job of the characters playing the bad guy and the good guy to play their roles, to perform their roles. You have to be able to tell the difference, and if you can't, then the news tells you the difference. And then it's, of course, the job of those that are performing the role to do their job well. It's their job to perform the role of either good guy or bad guy. Of either the one that's your team or the one that's their team. Or the one that's their team or the one that's your team. Or the ones that are on that side of the border or the ones that are on this side of the border. Their side or your side. Of course, you have to be able to decide what team you're for, and then you watch the news with more interest. Because if you decide you're for this team or that team or this team, then of course when you watch the news, you have reason to be interested. You have to see, if the news tells you your team won, then you're glad. And then if the news tells you that your team lost, well then you protest. And then it's also the job of the news to tell you the story of who's looting and whose job it is to loot. And then you have to make sure that the news tells you the story of who's protecting the property and whose job it is to protect the property. Because you have to have looters and you have to have people, it's their job to protect the property. But in order to do that, you have to have the news to tell you that there's looters and it's their job to loot. And then you have to have the news to tell you that there's people that protect the property and that it's their job to protect the property. As an American, and when I see other Americans, first thing I want to know is, are they part of my America or are they part of somebody else's America? But as an American, and when I say America, I mean this America, not that America, my America, not somebody else's America. As an American, that's a capitalist. What do I think about Ferguson? Well, I'm okay with it as long as it leads to a 15 to 50 to 75% off sale. Because as an American, that's a capitalist, I need to be concerned primarily with the economy. And how does this affect the economy is my primary question. Ultimately, everything comes back to the economy. Everything either supports or does not support the economy. And it doesn't really matter what happens. If it doesn't support the economy in some way, then it's a bad thing as an American. And when I I say this America, not that America, my America, not somebody else's America, I'm talking about myself as an American. Because when I talk about myself as an American, I'm talking about this America, not that America, my America, not somebody else's America. And in my America, the most important thing is, does it support the economy? That is to say, will there be a 15 to 50 to 75% off sale? People are pretty touchy about when it comes to abortion. Usually when you ask somebody, or rather when somebody will ask you, well, what do you think about abortion? And you say, well, when somebody asks me, well, what do you think about abortion? I say, well, I'm against it. But only in some cases. I'm only against it when it bothers me. I'm only against abortion when it offends me. I'm only against abortion when my feelings get hurt. I'm only against abortion when I have to do it. As long as I don't have to do the abortion, as long as I don't have to perform the abortion, I'm okay with it. I'm against abortion, but I'm for abortion if it's state approved and it's performed on life that I don't approve of. And I'm against abortion, but I'm for abortion as long as it's state approved and it's performed where I can't see it. I only want to see video footage if it's footage shot from 20,000 feet in the sky. I'm not really for abortion, but I'll be for abortion if it's state approved and if it's performed from 20,000 feet in the sky and it's performed over there and not here. Because I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to know about it, I just want to pay other people to do it for me. Also, I don't want to perform abortion, but I'll support it if it's done at ground level as long as it's done by other people. As long as it comes out of a barrel of a gun, that kind of abortion I approve of, as long as it's performed on people that I don't like and as long as it doesn't offend me. If I don't have to see it, if I don't have to think about it, it doesn't offend me. Also, I'm against abortion. I'm only for it if I can celebrate the people that perform it. That way I can still be pro-life and I can still celebrate the people that perform it. And they can deal with it. They can deal with what it means to perform abortion. That way I don't have to perform it and I don't have to be for abortion. I can still be pro-life and I can pay other people to kill for me. I mean perform abortion for me.
Environmental regulations.
What did Jesus accomplish when he
Any project of this size has risk, and all
performed his role of mission accomplisher? Jesus' job was to perform the role of mission accomplisher.
The Marketplace Morning Report coming up in just a minute.
Jesus
Let's check traffic.
became poor,
Line of traffic on
P-O-O-R,
trying to get onto the 91. It's because
so that
accident earlier
those
occurred right at the 71.
that couldn't afford it,
Also there
didn't know about it,
on the
didn't want it,
actually westbound 10
and or could never repay it,
on both the 10
which is everybody,
and northbound
could have it, which was the accomplishment of the mission, which is inclusion in
70s today. It'll be a little warmer.
the equal sharing of the benefits provided because that mission was accomplished. And that means perfect reconciliation with Him, with God, with the universe. And how did Jesus accomplish this? By being an includer, by giving everything that He had to the poor. And then it becomes the job of the one that follows Jesus, that is to say, it becomes the job of the Christian, that is, it is the job of a Christian, that is, a Christian is a representative of Jesus. A Christian is an ambassador of Christ. And it is the job of a Christian to give everything that they have to the poor. So you can look at the mission that was accomplished by Jesus, because Jesus, it was the job of Jesus to perform the role of mission accomplisher. And we know that mission was accomplished when Jesus said, "It is finished." Then Jesus became the ultimate mission accomplisher. And then you can have either that or that being perfect reconciliation, perfect equality with God, with Him, with the universe, perfect in-tune-ment with Him, with God, with the universe. Or you can argue about where you're going to eat after church on Sunday. Or what kind of pictures people like looking at. Or what's the best cable TV show or news channel to watch.
What about data security? Facebook doesn't seem to have
Or whether you're Clippers fan or a Lakers fan or Democrat or Republican or for drone strikes or food stamps. So you can have all that, or you can be like Jesus and you can become a mission accomplisher and you can just go around giving everything that you have to the poor.
Information in ways they didn't expect them to.